All right, welcome back, everyone. Once again, thank you to everybody for that intro music and our outro music. Appreciate you. We're so excited to be back for our week 3 edition of the 22 BSB Podcast. I'm Sean Cows,
I'm Tony James.
and we're your betting strategy brothers. Just a quick reminder, you guys, that we are teachers by trade. So we're here to teach, we're here to help. Hopefully, you pick up something good. Hopefully, you pick up something not so good, whatever. Take it or leave it. But that's what we're here for, is more to help you learn, more to help you think, stuff like that. Because that's what we do as teachers. And it's Friday night, it's late. Maybe you guys are drinking just like we are, and you're exhausted from the week just like we are. and but hopefully you pick up something. But because of
Yep.
that, we cannot guarantee anything we do predict. But hopefully you pick up some good stuff.
Well, yeah, that's the whole idea, right? Is that's why we get together every week. We want to have some fun, drink a couple beers and or whatever it is we're drinking, and we want to teach you something and maybe open up your eyes. Maybe if it's one thing, right? If it's one thing, maybe it's a trend or maybe it's a stat that you never thought of or ran into. If it's one thing that helps you win, $50 or something, it's totally worth it.
Correct. Even if it's $5, a win is a win is a win, and you got to take them for what they're worth and be happy when they happen and be excited about it. And it's not just teaching you guys. We're not just here. We are here to teach you guys, but when we started this 3 seasons ago, we talk daily about all sports, not just football. We talk daily about all sports, and we're like, we should. People will ask me, what does this mean, or how does this do it, or I know you bet all the time, teach me, I don't even know what to do. And I went to Vegas with a buddy of mine, Randy, and he didn't know what to do at the window and stuff like that. And so as you and me were talking one time, and we like to hang out, but you're in Cali, I'm in Arizona, so it's a little hard. We said, why don't we do a podcast and start teaching these people how to do it and letting them learn and helping them think. And it now really, I get every week, I'm getting people going, what do you think? Who you like? What are you thinking? This and that and the other thing. So, and I love that. I love talking with them, and I'll get people to go, seriously, you're crazy. Yeah, maybe I am. So take it and go the other way with it. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm just telling you that's what I think. That's what I like. This is why. And we help you think about things. And once again, we also help you, not because, we're not doing this, so don't be afraid to spend money, because I don't want to say don't be afraid, but you should only be betting what you can afford to lose. But it's more, we don't want you to be afraid when you place a bet. Like, oh, did I do that right? Did I make the
Mhm.
right thing? Did I place that right? Or if you are at a sports book, like here in Arizona, you can be, or whatever, you're not afraid to actually go to the window and talk to them. Now, if you've never been to a window, they are very helpful. You can ask those guys, hey, I don't know how to say this, but this is what I want. I want this, and they'll help you out. And they'll help you get it right, just like we try to do here. But we're trying to help you eliminate that fear, feel a little stronger about what you're doing.
Well, yeah, I'm sure that you had a first time at a window. I had a first time at a window. I didn't really know what the heck I was doing, but the more you do it and the more you get comfortable. And look, the thing about betting what you can afford to lose is super valuable. And look, I don't care if you're betting $5 or $500. If you can pick something up that it's helpful and put you in the plus category, hey, winning $5 is better than losing $5, right? So
Correct.
you're still ahead. You're still ahead at the end of the day. So don't worry about the amounts. Don't worry. Just have some fun, um, learn something, and like Cal said, if you like what we say, great, run with it. If you don't like what we say, great, go the other way, or pick another game or something. But we want you to learn something.
And we don't ever want you to do what anything that could put your life in jeopardy. So in other words, like, oh, I'm getting in a hole, I'm just trying to make some money, so I'm going to keep gambling, and then all of a sudden you don't have enough for the mortgage or the rent or the
Mhm.
electricity or the water. Like, if it's going to put you in that much of a hole, I understand. Sometimes you want to watch the game, and sometimes it's nice just to put, I know people that put dollars on games, like, oh, I put $1 on. It's like just nice to have that little skin in the game,
Mhm.
to make it a little more interesting. Not that we need it to be more interesting, but um, So that's nice, but don't ever put yourself in a hole. It's not only is it miserable to think that way, it's also very, betting, even though technically there's nothing to it, it definitely feels like when you're down and you can't get back up. Like, man, I can't. I'm in a dry spell. Everything I do, I lose, and this and that and the other thing.
Mhm.
And you forget that. Oh yeah, I won a little bet here and there, but you're really losing overall. And so, you don't want to ever get in that. Oh my god, I keep losing. I keep losing. I keep losing, and then you're gonna lose everything. So,
For
just
sure.
mind. But something else we like to do, which once again needs to be done responsibly, also could lead to some bad stuff. But if you do it responsibly and great, is drinking. We enjoy the drink. And we both have families, we both have kids, we both have professions. So we figured out how to do it responsibly, and hopefully you guys have too. But every week we do a flavor of the week, telling you what we're going to be drinking this week. Um, or maybe what we drank last week or whatever that we enjoyed or whatever. So we just try to give you guys different options, make you think about different drinks or maybe try something you haven't. But mine this week, I'm sure most of you have. It's the king of beers. It's um look,
Yes.
I'm very fortunate enough to be on a fantastic high school football coaching staff. And the head coach, luckily, is a friend of mine.
Mhm.
And he was very generous to have me as part of his staff this year. So thank you, Aaron. But his favorite beer is Budweiser. And I actually had a couple of guys over to watch a Monday Night Bills game. And some of them left some Budweiser here. So I'm drinking that leftover tonight, and I'm enjoying it. It is a very underrated beer. Everybody thinks about most people start drinking it when they're teenagers trying to break it, and that's all they can get, and it's cheap and this and that and the other thing. But it kind of gets a bad rap for that. But then you go back and man, that really is. It's not a bad beer, so I enjoy it. And some people say it hurts the next morning on the little tummy tums, but the system needs a good clean out every once in a while. It's not a you got to flush your tranny system. Might as well flush your body, right?
There you go, and that's a good one to flush it with for sure. And yeah, nothing wrong with drinking American, that's for sure.
I agree with that. What are you drinking this week?
I'm continuing my beer tour of Northern Nevada because when I went up there a few weeks ago, I picked up a bunch. Got a little Revision IPA this week
Ooh,
from Revision Brewery in
ooh.
Sparks. Very crisp, very refreshing, 6.5% alcohol, very not bitter for an IPA, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Um, it goes well with just about everything. Tonight I ate it with a bean and cheese burrito, and it was tasty. So, um, but yeah, it's just one of those things where it's got some good hops, good flavor, and like you said, at end of a long week, I want to have something good. I don't want to wake up with a huge headache. I just grab one of these, and I get the flavor that I want, and not too much bitter, and I'm good to go.
Yeah, that Northern Nevada tour has not been good for your wolf pack, though.
Yeah, that's luckily we're almost out of Northern Nevada beers, and so I think at least next week they won't lose, so that's a good thing.
Yeah, that's always good. All right, so before we get started and talk about our picks for the week, and what we're thinking, um, we actually before we get into this, I just want to throw out just because we do other sports, and even though we mainly focus on football here, I just want to talk about a couple other things. Hockey season starting up. Hockey season is starting with tomorrow's first game, isn't it? The
Tomorrow is
preseason.
preseason.
First
Yeah,
preseason game.
unbelievable.
Oh yeah, I can't. The Burrs are my favorite month, and part of that is because we get hockey back, basketball comes
Mhm.
back, baseball's in the playoffs, football's going full of try. It is you can't beat it. Um, and I just want to say congratulations to Pujols. And that's it's always incredible. I don't know for you, and I'm sure it's for you, but for me, it's always incredible to like. I was telling my kids about it today, and my oldest is only 11, and they don't understand the history behind it. And I'm sure in that age, I might not have maybe by I was 11, but is like they don't understand the history behind it. But for me growing up, for you growing up, I mean, Pujols was part of our baseball, and now he got 700. And I said this before the show that freaking screw the Dodgers. I mean, we hate the Dodgers anyway. But on top of that, how do you have somebody run around the bases in front of you that just hit 700? What is he, fourth, fifth? Is that fourth or fifth? Fourth. He runs around the bases. You don't give him a high five. You don't give him a congratulate. You don't give him nothing. You just.
He was your teammate last year. He was your teammate.
Yeah, correct. I don't. I'm just floored by that, and it just shows you how classless the freaking Dodgers are.
But let's now. Yes, let's give it to their fans though. Their fans should totally standing.
I agree.
Yeah, that was awesome. I love that.
I agree. I totally agree with that. And it just floors me that fans are fans, and we all get it. I could understand if maybe somebody didn't because they had hurt feelings, but come on, all of you, like, give me a freaking break. So I don't know. It's in going along that same lines. A bet I like that I'll probably take every day from now until the end of the season is Judge hitting a home run.
Dude, Judge is incredible right now, and I can't. Like, I'm not a Yankee guy. I know you're a Yankee guy. I'm not much of a Yankee guy, but dude, how can you not root for this guy? This guy bets on himself. He says, you know what? I'm not going to sign that contract. I want to see this played out. And like, could you have done any better than what Judge has done this year if you're betting on yourself?
And they offered him $250 million. He said, nope, we can do better than that. And whether he stays in New York or not next year, which I don't know how New York can't keep him unless he really wants out, which I don't think he's yearning to get out. He might kind of think out, but I don't know. I don't know the ins and outs of that, but what he denied 250, and I'm looking at it going, he's going to get at least 354, maybe. I don't know. I don't even know. What do you think the number is for that?
You know what? I think I might surprise you here. I think he gets 3 years, 150 million. And really? I think that and the reason why I think that is because he's 31 going on 32. He's 6'7", 260,
something like that. He's bigger than freaking Gronk was.
He is a giant man, and you don't know how that body's gonna hold up. And so me as a general manager, I would be scared to sign him to anything longer than 5 years. I'd be more willing to pay him a lot for a little bit of work. Like, I wouldn't be surprised to see the Dodgers try and get him and offer him 3 years, 150 million. Go, here you go. But that's what I think. I think these long deals. I think what you're seeing with these long deals. I mean, Tatis signed a long deal. He hasn't even barely played this year.
Yeah.
Soto wants a long deal. I don't know if that's it. Rodriguez signed a long deal recently. He's injured now. Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying that there's a cause and effect there, but I'm saying that it's hard to gauge Mike Trout. It's hard to gauge how a player is going to hold up over a long contract. And
yeah. And I mean, per year, that's more because what the Yankees was, it was like 250, but it was like 7 years. So boiled down to like 30 a year or something like that. But 32, whatever that is. But I don't know if he'll accept that. I mean, yes, it's 50 mil, but I think he's going to want, I mean, I'm thinking more like he might do the 250 for 5, maybe, instead of
I could see that
7.
I could totally see that.
But I think he's going to somebody's going to give him what he wants. Somebody's going to.
For sure.
And
for sure.
You look at it, and it's going to be a big market, and your big markets are your Dodgers, your Yankees. I would not be surprised if your Angels made a bid at him to put him with Ohtani, could you imagine? I understand the money and they're gonna have to pay
Yeah.
luxury tax, and I get that end of it. But when you're looking at if you have Trout, Ohtani, and freaking Judge in the same line,
Oh, that would be absolutely incredible. And I mean, he's from California. He's from Central Valley, California, so it's not exactly coming home if he comes to Southern California. But I think the Angels have more issues to deal with there. But that it would put butts in the seats. That's for sure. And that's and that's why I think that he's going to get a shorter contract. I don't think he's going to get 7 or 8. I think he's going to get 3, 4, 5. And so it'll definitely be interesting. But I'm rooting for him, man. I'm rooting for him. I want him to get it. I want him to get it so bad.
I'll take that bet. The other bet that I've been doing for a while that I kind of got out of now was taking him to get a hit every day. But when I started about, I don't know, 2-3 weeks ago, it was like it'd be like minus 200, minus 300. I was like minus 700, minus 800. I'm like, all right, this is getting too expensive to bet on that. So I kind of shied away from that. But all right, let's get back to our NFL stuff. So before we get into our picks, we always start on how we did last week because we want to be transparent with you. We don't want to try to hide anything from you or anything like that. So last week I had a little bit better week, but still had a great week. And we've said it before, the first 4 weeks are always the absolute hardest. Week 2 is harder than week 1. But I lost $20 on my Pittsburgh last week. I know tonight's Friday night. Pittsburgh lost again yesterday. But I thought they had a shot against New England. They didn't. So whatever. I picked them on my straight pick on the money line, and that lost. I lost my $20 parlay and my $20 teaser. And both of them lost because of Cincinnati and Vegas. And that's something I want to point out real quick. Like, there's a strategy behind, like, I really felt pretty confident that Cincinnati was going to come back, and week 1 was terrible, but week 2, they're going to come back and they're going to be Cincinnati. And I really thought Arizona didn't have a chance against Vegas. And in the first half, I was right. In the second half, I was not. But you got to think about that when you bet. How really confident are you in that? Because if both those would have hit, then I would have hit both those bets and made a lot. But since both of them lost, I lost both bets. I doubled up. I tend to try not to double up as much as I can unless I'm absolutely 100% sure, because I don't want to say it's taking the fun out of it, but it's you got everything tied in that game, and if that game goes off, then you lose everything. It's not just you lost one of your cards, you lost all of them. And so that's a strategy. I try to stay away from doing that because I want to keep all my bets alive as much as I can. But some people going, I'm going to double up. I'm really confident. And I do it when I'm super duper confident. But I try not to do that anymore. So anyway, I lost my parlay and my teaser because of that. My Sunday teaser, my Monday teaser actually hit where I had both Philly and Buffalo on the points. That was $20 to win 18. Small win, but it's still a win. So I started with 140 last week. I bet 80, got 38 of it back. So for the week, I'm down 42, which is better than the week before. For the season, I'm up 98. So I'll start this week with 198 because we budgeted ourselves $100 each week. So I'll start today with 198. How'd you do this last week there?
Well, I hit my straight bet of the Washington Detroit over, so that was 30 to get 28 back. I lost my parlay because of Pittsburgh by half a point. I nailed Jacksonville. That was pretty awesome. I'm not gonna lie about that. But I mean, that was I think, and I said at the time too, that was a trend bet. There was 7 in a row, and now it's 8 in a row. So I lost my parlay. I lost all my teasers. So I started with 134. I bet 130. I got back 58. So I'm down 72 for the week, up 62 for the season. And I got this week's 100. So I'm starting at 162 this week.
So you're starting at 162. I'm starting at 198 for this week. So, it's not where we wanted to be, but we still are betting what we can afford, and we're still being able to have fun, and that's what we want. So,
Perfect. I love it.
all right,
Let's see what we got for this week.
let's see. So we always start off with our straight picks, meaning it's just one game, one bet, one whatever. It could be a prop bet, which we're going to talk about later. But my straight pick this week, I'm taking Buffalo, Miami over 53. Um, I'm not going to lie, even as a Buffalo fan, I do think we're going to win, but I'm not like when you look at Josh Allen is 1-7 against Miami, or sorry, 7-1 against Miami. He lost the first game he played against Miami and hasn't lost since. And that's playing them twice a year. So that's pretty freaking impressive. So I'm not. I don't want to say I'm scared, but I'm not like, oh my God, Bills are going to smoke him. Bills are going to smoke him. I'm a realist and I'm looking at it. But like you said, we always look at trends, and trends are trends for a reason. And the trends lean Buffalo's direction, but it's still kind of close. But the reason I'm looking at it, in the last 14 times that these two teams have met, so 14 times, that's even before Josh Allen, when Buffalo still sucked. 10 they're the over is 10-4, and when you got two teams that are scoring points the way these two teams are scoring points, I still think Tua, yes, I understand in yards he's first and so on and so forth, but I'm not a Tua fan. I'm just not. I mean, you have the top three receivers, and two of those are Miami. But the reason I'm not a Tua fan is because every time you see him throw up, oh, there's Tyreek Hill, but oh, there's one a little bit, but they still have to stop and come back for the ball in those deep ones. Mm-hmm. It's just they're so far in front of, or they're so far behind those safeties that they have time to come back. So it makes Tua look good. I think they're making him look good more than he's making himself look good. Mm-hmm. But it's just, I think, plus you got Buffalo, Micah Hyde's injured, and I think he's questionable, but probably not going to play. Poyer's in the same boat, so there goes our defensive secondary that's already depleted. You got Ed Oliver still out, although last week, even without Ed Oliver, we still stopped the shit on Henry. So, but there's just, Buffalo's defense is like the best defense in the past 7 years, literally over. When you look at the stat lines and everything, they're like the best. Maybe their weak spot was always the run, and this year it seems like they've got it under control. But that's been their weakest point. But they're still the best in the past. I think it was 4 seasons where they're best stat wise. So, but when you talk about you're down to your third and your fourth cornerbacks and safeties, and that can lead to some points, especially when you are going against top receivers. So, and Josh Allen's going to get his. He's going to put up points. So I just think this is going to be a shootout, and I think over 53. It's a lot of points, but when you look at it, 24-20 or sorry, 28-27, and I'm a winner. So
for sure,
I'm good with that.
I really like this pick. I think these teams are the best two teams in the division. I too am not a Tua fan, but I look at what, like, the acquisition of Tyreek Hill gives them a bona fide number one target. And not only does that help Tua in that he's got a target that he knows he can get up, but let's say that they double Tyreek. Well, now you got Waddle, right? And so now there's more for him. That was a huge acquisition, and I think that's gonna turn Miami into a playoff team. I don't think it's going to turn him into a world beater, but I think 11 wins probably gets him in the playoffs in that division. I love this pick. I think it's a great pick. I think I like what you said about the over hitting 10 of the last 14 times. The over's 4-0 also when the Bills play in the last 4 when the Bills play a team with a winning record. So, I mean, yeah, 2-0, but it's a winning record, right? So
I agree.
And 10-2-1 in the Bills' last 13 games on grass. This game's in Miami on a grass field.
Yeah. Well, and this is kind of off of this game a little bit, but you know who the Tyreek Hill trade, I think it was better for KC than it was for Miami. Because I think there was a lot of I don't want to say pressure, but I think Mahomes and Hill were boys, and I think Hill wanted to get him the ball and might have felt a little bit like I have to get him the ball. And you look what he's doing without him. He's spreading the ball out so much more and giving them so much more weapons that it might have been better for them.
Yeah, I could totally see that. I can totally see that. When you have a guy who wants to be the guy,
Yeah.
and he's like getting his, but not exactly getting his, because they got Kelsey, and then they had they had Edwards-Helaire out of the backfield, and so it's tough call. I think you're right. I think it does help him out, and plus when they acquired Juju, I think that helped him too.
Yeah,
So
I agree with that. Although I freaking bet I bet Juju to score in his first game there to get a touchdown, being an attempt score, and that didn't happen. That pissed me off, but it's whatever. What do you got for your straight pick this week?
I'm also going points. I'm going back to the well. I'm taking Detroit, Minnesota over 52.5. I went with Detroit last week over. They came through. Goff is playing well. He's playing well. I'm pretty impressed with how Swift has been playing. He didn't get nearly as many yards last week rushing as he did the week before, but I like Swift a lot because he catches a ball out of the backfield, and I think that makes him just a huge value for Detroit. I don't see how this game doesn't go over. The over is 4-0 in the last 4 for the Lions overall. Last 4-0 in the last 4 against the NFC. Over's 4-0 in the Lions' last 4 after they scored more than 30 in the previous game. This game is indoors. Minnesota is coming off a not so great performance, so they're going to have
that's being kind.
They're going to have a lot of motivation. I see this game as just a absolute point parade. And once again, it's a trend pick. Like we see that Detroit has trended over recently. I don't see that. I don't see that stopping now. Now on the Minnesota side, the over is 6-1 for the Vikings in the last 7 games, following an against the spread loss, and 7-1 in the last 8 following a straight up loss of more than 14. This is going to go over 31-28 easily.
Here, and you're absolutely right. There's. I'm not a Kirk Cousins fan. So, but I am trying to put that aside and say you have Justin Jefferson, and other than last week, he's going to get his. Last week he got shut down against a pretty good Philly defense, and everybody's really high on Philly. I think they're good. Don't get me wrong, but I think a lot of that was Justin Jefferson just quit on routes. A couple of them, that one pick in the end zone, he just quit on that, and I think a lot of that has to do with relationships. I don't know. I'm not in the locker room, but I think there's relationships. I also think that it's Kirk Cousins. So that scares me a little bit. I like where Detroit is. My worry is, can Minnesota keep their end of this bargain? Because when you're looking over, you're not. I mean, granted, this over is 52.5. You're not looking for one team, and Detroit is not the team that's going to put up a 52.5 themselves. Like you could look at a Buffalo, you could look at a Kansas City, you can look right now at a Miami. Possibly Philly. There are a couple teams that could possibly get there or close enough where the other team only has to score 10 points or whatever. I just don't think Detroit's that team that can get that close themselves. So you need Minnesota to get there. And the other trend that really worries me is the under is 8-1 in the last 9 meetings between these two teams in Minnesota.
That's true.
That worries me. I like to look head ahead, but what all these trends, like you look, okay, Detroit's 2-0, the over's 2-0 and 4-0 in the last 4, but 2-0 this season in Detroit games, but they didn't play Minnesota. But then it's like, well, then let's look head to head, and it's like they weren't the same team. You're not the same team.
I agree. This is a completely this Detroit team this year is completely different than the Detroit team last year. Completely different.
I agree with that. So trends, as much as you need to look at them, you need to take them into account. There's also things behind them that you got to take into consideration. There's factors, but trends are trends for a reason, and you got to look at them. So,
well, yeah, I mean, and look, I mean, let's be honest. We could find a trend for any pick that we want.
Correct.
But it's a matter of like looking at the big picture when we look at certain trends and going, okay, this is what happens. Like, and the example I always come back to is the San Francisco, Arizona. For some reason, they seem to always go under, even when the teams are just scoring at will. They always seem to go under. Correct. So, that's something that when they play again, I'll probably bet them under again.
Yeah. If for some reason just trends happen, and we're both math teachers, we both know the numbers, and we both know how to skew numbers however you want with it. Like it is, but things are trending for a reason, and you got to take that into account. So
exactly,
take it with a grain of salt, but take it a little bit. All right, so excuse me, sorry, the Budweiser's burping back up on me. The next part we do is our parlays. And when you do a parlay, you're taking more than one bet and putting it together to increase your odds, but every single bet has to hit. Yep. So it's not like if I was betting myself and you weren't there or whatever, and I put $30 on Buffalo Miami over and you put $30 in Detroit Minnesota over, those are two separate tickets. One can win, one can lose. You get the money from the win, you lose the money from the loss, and you're done. Whereas a parlay, if I parlay those together and put those together, both have to happen for me to win. And if both don't happen, I don't win anything. I lose that money. So that's the difference with the parlay. So my parlay is a money line parlay this week. I'm taking Kansas City, Philadelphia, and Atlanta. I went semi-safe with my first two. And my last one is not as safe. So you got Kansas City. I mean, Kansas City is, I was actually listening to the sports radio on the way home, and I was listening to local Arizona here, and even they were saying that Buffalo is a juggernaut. KC is still somebody you're going to have to go through, though. It is not like KC is out of it. It's just that their Buffalo is the juggernaut of it, but KC is still dominating. We already talked about how they have, different players. Mahomes is opening up, and, they look good. My bigger part of this is Indy does not look good, and I don't get it. I don't get why Indy looks so terrible. When you look at stat lines, they don't look terrible. They're not. Oh, Matt Ryan's done. No, he's not. When you're looking at a stat line, he. I mean, yes, okay. Is he lighting it up? No, but when you look at how many passing yards he has, he's 50 yards behind Mahomes. He's got 4 interceptions this year, which is pretty terrible to averaging 2 a game. But he's not down and out. And when you look at their defense, like they're top 10 in most categories. So like I don't get what's happening. Frank Reich's a great cut. Like I don't understand it. When I watch them, it's like they're in the game, they're together. And I even read an article in an indie paper about, when you have a team that's 0-2, you can walk in the locker room and feel it. And they said they walked in the locker room and you couldn't tell they were 0-2. They had all the confidence in the world. They had everything. So it does scare me a little bit, just because Indy is still so confident. They still have Jonathan Taylor. They still have a decent Matt Ryan. It's just I don't know how you can bet against KC right now. I think the AFC is by far better than the NFC, by far. Like it's not even close. But I still think KC is number 2 in the AFC, in the stronger conference, for a reason. And I just, Mahomes has almost turned into Brady for me. I don't like as much. I hate Brady. I don't like betting against him. Mahomes is kind of the same thing. You bet against him, he's going to make you pay. And so that as much as Indy still scares me, it I can't bet against KC. And when you look at it, Rome team is 5-2 against the spread in the last 7 meetings between these two teams.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see how you bet against KC. With Philly, Philly's freaking good. And when you're talking about, if they were in the AFC, I would not put them. I mean, they might be top 5, but in the NFC, they're easily top 5, maybe top 4. So, like, I when you're talking about Wentz, he's back and he's not back and he's back or whatever, I don't know if I still can't get over the fact of them being called the Commandos. I don't know what it is. I'm not sold on Washington yet. They're just, maybe it's just my, and I don't hate Wentz. Like when he came out, when he was doing good at Philly, I was always happy for him, but then he's always hurt and he's always everything. But when you look at their offense, they're not top of the line. I mean, they're not terrible, I should say, not top of the line, not terrible. When you look at their defense is letting them down in a lot of games. In the game they lost, and even the game they won, their defense let them down. So, like, I just think Philly, while I don't think, they're running away with it, I think they're the better team. What worries me is that between these two, head-to-head, it's 3-0-1 against the spread, both for the underdog, in favor of the underdog and in favor of the home team. So that kind of goes against what I'm saying, but because Philly is favored and Philly's the away team. But Philly just looks too damn good, and they look better than they have in a long time, and I don't like betting against them. The other game on here is Atlanta beating Seattle. Look, these two teams are in full tank mode. We've talked about Coyotes the past couple of years being in tank mode and trying to get there. These two teams, neither one of these teams wants to win it. Nope. And I think Seattle's first win was the win was all about beating Russell Wilson, and that was it. And I think that was the only game they had circled on the calendar to the win, and the rest they want to lose because they're gap quarterbacks. They're filling gap with these quarterbacks.
Yeah, for sure.
So they want to lose. They want those top picks. So I would be surprised if they threw interceptions on purpose, the ball on purpose. Like it's just neither one of these teams wants to win. How is Geno Smith even a quarterback? Like I don't get how he is a starting quarterback in the NFL right now. It blows my freaking mind.
There's no way that you can't find 32 players that are at that position that are better.
Correct. And I still feel the same way about Mariota. I still think there's 32 players that are better than him. But if you had to run a list, I would say Mariota might be in the top 40, maybe top 40-ish, maybe top 50. But Geno's way farther down than that. Mm-hmm. And I got to look at, and really when I'm looking at this, I'm looking, my main thing looking at this is Cordell Patterson versus Rashad Penny, and I'm taking Cordell Patterson every day of the week, and that's where I'm going with that. So, and when you look at it, Seattle might be very willing to lose this game since they've already won a game, and Atlanta hasn't. So, I mean, just not, and we know they're professionals; they're not going out there to lose, but. When you're talking about the grand scheme of things and it is a business and everything like that, like I don't see how Seattle wants to win this game. So that's where I'm going with that. That's why I picked those three teams.
Well, I love the Kansas City pick. I can see your side on Atlanta. But you're going to see that I don't really like the Philadelphia pick. I'm still not convinced with Philadelphia. I thought they played a team last week that was, we talk about trends. For some reason, Kirk Cousins can be just absolute nails on a Sunday, and then the calendar switches to Monday, and that guy couldn't hit water if he fell out of a boat. I mean, it's just it's uncanny how just bad he is. I don't get it. And I wasn't overly impressed. Like, yeah, Philadelphia won their first game against Detroit, but they led Detroit right back into that game at the end. So, but I mean, it is Washington.
We talked about how good we think Detroit is this year.
True. It is Washington. It's a division game. Anything can happen. I'm not. It's hard for me to get on the Washington bandwagon as well. So, but as we're going to see in a minute, we could both win this.
Correct. Tell them your picks now.
So I went with Tennessee plus 2.5 and Washington plus 6.5 against Philadelphia, because the Commanders are, I think they're going to cover the spread. They're 6-1 against the spread in their last 8 on grass. 4-1 against the spread in their last 5 home games. 7-3-1 against the spread in their last 11. And they're at home. I really like the fact that they're at home. I think they finally have I think they have a decent quarterback now. We haven't talked about the revenge factor. Wentz is going to be going against his old team that basically said, you know what, you suck, and we're going to get rid of you.
But how much of that was you suck or you're always hurt for us?
It could go part and parcel, right? Because, I mean, Indianapolis flipped them after a year too. So, it could be either one of those things.
But Philly, okay, here, I'm sorry. Philly was a playoff team last year. They were a playoff team last year.
They were a backdoor playoff team.
But they were still a playoff team. Like, I'm not on Philly. My thought about Philly right now, Philly is a 1 playoff win team this year. That's my thought on Philly. I don't think, like, people, they could go to the Super Bowl against Buffalo. And I don't have them on that boat yet. Mm-hmm. But I do have them as, I could see them taking the next step. You made it to the playoffs last year. Mm-hmm. You backdoored it, but you made it this year. You're going to make it, and you're going to win 1 game, and you're going to lose probably to Tampa in round 2.
I only see them winning a game because they're going to host a playoff game, because they're going to win that division with a 9-8 record. That's why they're going to win a playoff game. Other than that, and it's going to be butt-ass cold, and they're going to play probably some team like Arizona or something. It doesn't play well outdoors, and they're going to beat them.
Okay, fair enough.
But you are absolutely right. Philadelphia's on the upside. They are on the upswing. They should be a playoff team. Like, it shouldn't be like, if we would have done this the beginning and we would have picked our 7 playoff teams in the NFC, you probably should have had Philadelphia on your list. Mm-hmm. And I completely agree with you. I didn't like how they performed at the end of last year. But the bottom line is they got in, and you're right. They got in. They're a playoff team. I like Washington taking the next step this year. I think they're finally done with the internal BS that they've had to work with over the last 2 seasons. They got a new team name. They've got a quarterback. They've got great skill players. I think they can cover 6.5. And the cool thing about this is, if Philadelphia wins by 3, we can both win our tickets.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, this is one we could both win, and I definitely think it could be a close game. Tennessee, I'm surprised you're taking them after the shellacking they got last week.
Here's the thing: it's travel. It's East Coast. The Raiders play historically bad in the 10 o'clock time slot. They are also 4-9 in their last 13. Think about this: their playoff team, 4-9 against the spread in their last 13 games. 4
that's against the spread, but that's against the spread, though. And I get it. We're talking gambling, we're talking betting, and you're taking the spread, and I get it. But 4-9 means a little different than outright. Here's why I like this pick. It says something when you're betting against your own team. Like I've said it before, I don't like to get a bet against my own team, except for the 17 years they didn't make the playoffs. I said, at least it's going to be miserable watching them. I might as well make money on it. I don't like betting against my team, though, so I try not to. But if I truly think they're going to lose, I'd rather make money on it. But I like this bet because first, Vegas has Hunter Renfro's got a concussion. He's in protocol, so he's out. So that hurts. Even though they have Adams, that still hurts. The second thing is, and I can't believe this is like when I saw this, I had to look at it about 10 times. Not that I think he's bad, but Tannehill's 4-0 against the Raiders.
Isn't that incredible?
Not that Tannehill's terrible. Tannehill's terrible. I don't think he's terrible, but I don't think he's definitely a starting quarterback in the league. Don't get me wrong. He's definitely a starting quarterback in the league. But to be 4-0 against the team and be Tannehill, like that to me doesn't jive.
Yeah, doesn't Tannehill's reek of mediocrity when you say his name? The other thing is Denzel Perriman's out for the Raiders. I don't see this team being able to stop Henry. I just don't.
Correct.
And
well, the only thing that could happen is I wonder how much Buffalo gave everybody the blueprint on how to stop Derrick Henry last week. Well, whether they can follow it or not is a different situation. But when you hold Derrick Henry to 25 freaking yards, like
but the other side of that though is like Buffalo's defense is outstanding.
Well, and they once they got up on them, they had to pass, and
yes. If the Raiders got up 28-0 on the Titans, I like their chances of hanging on this week, but I don't see it. I don't see it at all.
I agree with that. All right, let's get into our teaser. Teaser, you put the points in your favor, but the odds go down. So it's you're not going to make as much money. Even, I've got a 5-team teaser this week. I would make more money if it was just a 5-team parlay and I didn't tease the points. But this has to be teaser. You can't just take the money line and then add 6 points to it. It has to be with the spread, whatever the spread is, and you tease in your favor. So my teaser this week, I have Buffalo +1. I have the Jets +12. I have Detroit +11.5. I have Atlanta +6, and I have San Francisco +4.5. Atlanta, we already talked about. Buffalo, we talked about. One other stat we talked about before the show was that Miami has not beaten a team that has a quarterback with an O in the. Or they have not. Every time they've lost the game, it's to a quarterback that does not have an O in their last name. Every team they beat, the quarterback had an O in their last name. So that's just something else to throw in the mix. And yes, Josh has an O, but it's not his last name. So I'm going with that. But it could be a close game, and I wouldn't be surprised if it is. So, but I think Buffalo comes on top. So why not take them +1? I got the Jets +12 over Cincy. Cincy could come back and win. What the hell is going on with Cincinnati when they cannot figure out how to keep Joe Burrow off the ground? And part of that is Joe Burrow. Like, he's holding the ball too long. He's not getting out quick enough. He's not progressing through his reads quick enough to get it. He won't dump the ball. I think a lot of that is he's got Jamar Chase out there. He wants that long ball, and he's holding it too long. So a lot of it falls on him too. But that's coaching. Like, you need to coach that up and tell them. But I still think they probably come out on top on this. Even, like, I'm still not sold on the Jets. Yeah, they came back last week and went. I'm still not sold on them. But +12, I mean, that's a lot of points. I don't care what the team is, who it is. Like, that's a lot of points. We talked about Detroit already. We definitely both think Detroit is, I don't want to say on the upswing, like they're going to be
not like Philadelphia, right?
Champion. Yeah, correct. But they're definitely not as terrible as they have been in the past however many years. So +11.5, especially against a Minnesota team that had a terrible outing last week, hasn't looked that impressive this year. I'll take that all day long. Atlanta, we talked about +6. And then you got San Francisco, I threw in there +4.5. And my biggest reason is Jimmy G. My biggest reason is Jimmy G. I never understood the move to make him, to try to get rid of him, not get rid of him, keep him as your backup. Like, I think it was smart to keep him as a backup, and obviously it paid off dividends right now. But it was always going to happen if you put him as a starting quarterback, he's a winner. Like, he wins. And like, I don't get why they were so like Trey Lance. I understand they drafted Trey Lance to be the franchise and they started to get him, but when you make him a starting quarterback and you still have Jimmy G on your roster and being as winning as it is, that poor kid was in a situation where if he didn't get hurt and they kept losing, he's always going, well, shit, you got Jimmy G sitting behind me. Like, that's not, and I like the competition, don't get me wrong, but at the same time, it's like you've got to have some security to start feeling comfortable, and you didn't have that with him sitting behind you. But now you don't have that problem. Now I think the team can settle down a little bit because the team always has to wonder too, when is Jimmy G going in? So now that it is Jimmy G and it is him, he just wins, and I'm not a huge fan of him, but he wins. I mean, he wins.
He wins.
So if I can get 4.5 points against a shitty Denver team right now, I'm going to take it all day long.
You know what's interesting about Garoppolo, and I know that the sample size isn't nearly as big, but Garoppolo has a better winning percentage as a starter than Russell Wilson and Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
Again, sample size not as big.
No, correct.
But he's 31-14 as a starter with the 49ers.
He's got one of the best winning percentages ever in his playing time stats.
I really don't understand. Like, I don't understand what San Francisco's trying to do. Like, these teams just fall in love with these quarterbacks and it's not just the 49ers, right? The Eagles fell in love with Carson Wentz, and 3 years later they trade him, and didn't really work out for him, did it? You've seen the quarterbacks that have gone through Jacksonville. They had Nick Foles on their roster after he wins the Super Bowl, and then they traded him. I don't get it. I really don't get it. And look, Rodgers sat on the pine for 4 years.
Yeah, correct.
4 years.
Correct.
Lance holds the clipboard for a year, and then you anoint him the starter. Yeah, I don't get it, man. I don't get it. But
that's where the business comes into it. You're paying him a lot of money. You picked him high in the draft. You got to give him a lot of money. Why are you paying this dude to sit down? So that's a part of it, and I get it. But God, I don't get it. Anyway, my teaser is $25 to win $105. And once again, when we tell you how much we're winning. That's our net. If you have a ticket and you take it there, it's going to say, like mine would say 25 to win 130. But you're getting your 25 that you bet back. So that's what we're netting. So what's your teaser this week?
I have a couple. I went AM PM again. My AM teaser, I have Miami plus 11 against Buffalo. I think they keep it close. I think this is a one possession game throughout. I'm not saying that Miami's going to win, but at home getting 11 points, I really like that. I like the Jets also plus 12. Kansas City, Indianapolis over 44.5, and Chicago plus 3.5. And I like that to win. My $20 is going to win $52. Chicago is playing the Texans, and man, I don't get. Like, I get the Texans, and it seems like they're trying to suck, but I mean, I don't know. This is probably unpopular opinion. I thought the Bears got screwed on Sunday. I thought that the officiating was absolutely atrocious. I thought that play where they were denied the touchdown changed the game. And I kind of like how Justin Fields has played. So I'm going to take the Bears in that one.
Yeah, I like all the pits. Chicago worries me. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying that's a game I'm staying away from because it worries me. You never know what's going to happen between those two teams. And here, another stat that absolutely blew me away. Chicago has 28 pass attempts in 2 weeks. In 2 weeks. Attempts, not completion. Like, other teams have more completions than that already, and they've only got 28 attempts. Correct.
There you go. Hand off.
I mean, if I were going to bet this game, I'd bet the under. That's where I'd go with it.
I agree with you.
But
I completely agree.
And I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying that's too scary for me to even touch. And I understand it's the Texans, but it's too scary for me to touch.
I totally get that. I totally get it. But I think Chicago, I think a lot of their problems were I think they got rid of a lot of problems when they got rid of their coach. I really do.
Houston's 2-0 against the spread this year.
Good point. Good point. And so another reason why I tease it up to plus 3.5 on the Bears side.
Yeah. All right. What's your other one?
My PM, for some reason, I'm going back to the NFC South, which continues to screw me on a weekly basis. So I took Tampa Bay +6, Seattle +6, the Rams and Cardinals over 42.5, and Denver +7.5. In the battle of who can suck more, the only reason I'm taking Seattle is because they're at home. That's the absolute only reason. I think they're trash. I think Atlanta is also trash, but I think Seattle being at home is a little less trash. Tampa Bay is playing Green Bay, and like you're seeing what you're seeing right now is you're seeing how the loss of a great position player has impacted the entire offense for Green Bay. Like they have nobody to catch the ball. They have nobody catching the ball.
I agree, but on that same track, Tampa Bay doesn't have Mike Evans this week.
Tampa Bay does not have Mike Evans. That is correct.
So how much does that factor in? Like,
so it changes the game plan a little bit, right? They're gonna have to rely on don't pay the Perryman, and they're gonna have to rely on Fournette. That's what's gonna have to be.
But the Packers are 2-5 against the spread in their last 7 meetings in Tampa. They're 2-5 against the spread in their last 7 meetings overall. So it's definitely in your favor as far as trends are concerned.
I actually think this is going to be a decent game to watch.
It's going to be a good game. I think so too.
But I think that the number of position players that are going to be out for Green Bay or injured for Green Bay, I think that opens it up for Tampa Bay, and I think Tampa Bay wins this game by just pounding the shit out of the ball. They're just going to pound it and pound it and pound it.
I can agree with that.
I took Denver opposite your San Francisco, but the cool thing is if San Francisco wins by 6, we can both win, which is awesome. Yep. If Denver wins by 3, we can both win. And I think Arizona and the Rams, I think both those teams have a little bit to prove this week. I think the Rams win the game, but I think that definitely goes over 42.5. What was the comment I saw was Kyler Murray runs like he stole his parent, like a toddler stole their parent's phone or something. Like, holy smokes.
He does, a toddler that stole their parents' phone.
Yeah, that was one of the funnier things I've saw this week. But the cool thing is I don't care about the side. I just care about if Kyler Murray can find the dang end zone twice or 3 times, I'm going to be a happy guy.
Yeah, I agree. And if I'm touching that game, that's where I'm going with it. If I am touching that game, I might go the Rams just because McVay has the Cardinals number. I mean,
that is very true.
I think he's undefeated against Arizona, isn't he?
I think he is, but he pissed me right the hell off last week with that safety. What a jackass. So that was like a Tech Mobile play where he just took the ball and ran backwards.
Bo Jackson and Tech Mobile was the way to go.
And I'm sitting there watching my money just disappear because I had -4.
All right. So something else we like to add. There's a ton of bets. I mean, there's so many bets out there that's not even funny. But this week we're adding one, and we'll add one every couple of weeks, a different bet to it. This week we're adding prop bets, and what prop bets are is you're betting on something specific to happen in the game, and it has no bearing on the outcome yes, it's going to have bearing on the outcome, but doesn't matter what the outcome is as long as you're prop bet. So, for instance, last night, Caesars had a prop bet, and it was one of their boosts. All these places have boosts to get. I had Chubb and Harris each getting over 49.5 rushing yards. And it was even money. It was plus 100. It was even money. And I actually, last night, I teased Pittsburgh and the over, which I had until that last damn second touchdown. And that blew me out of the water. But it actually covered the other one, so it's fine. But a prop bet, Najee Harris and Chubb both getting over 49.5. I won that regardless of who won the game, regardless of the over-under, regardless of anything else. So that's what a prop bet is just, is this certain thing going to happen in the game? So we're adding that this week. And I love prop bets. I do a ton of them every week. So my prop bet this week is that I took, they call it anytime touchdown scores. So these people are going to score a touchdown anytime. And I put Travis Kelce and Stephon Diggs together, and I actually made it a parlay with both of them. So once again, back to our parlay rules, that they both have to score a touchdown for me to win this. But I think when you're talking about Buffalo against Miami, they're going to go to Diggs. Gabe Davis is still hurt. I don't think he's officially out, but he's out. And then Kelce, he has not had the touchdowns he normally has, and I think they're going to go back to him again, especially against Vegas. So my $20 is going to win me 48 there.
I love this parlay. I really do. I think you're going to see a score fest in the Buffalo game, and Kelce has turned into one of those targets for Mahomes. It's like it's like his like go-to, right? Like if everything else fails, I'm going to go to Kelce because I know he's going to be open.
Correct.
And I love that fact for this type of bet. I think this is a winner. I really do. And now that you mentioned this, I might put $40 on this just to see what happens. Because I think when you think about it, you've got the number one target on both offenses, and not just both offenses, but both offenses that are running at a high level right now.
Mm-hmm.
So that just amplifies. Diggs is going to get his targets. Kelce's going to get his targets. Yeah, this is beautiful. I love it very much.
Yeah, I'm excited, and I have a buddy of mine actually yesterday before our game was like, "Who you like to score a touch on the?" And he was doing like 10 of them put together, and he was putting $1 down to win like $400, and I'm like, "Dude, that ain't gonna hit. It's $1." I'm like, "Okay, yeah, fair point, but it's not gonna hit." But this was one where I was like, I'd rather put more money on people I feel very confident that are going to score and win a smaller amount compared to $1 to win 420 to win 48. But I'm still making money, and I'm good with that. What are you betting on your prop this week?
Well, I'm going back to my team. I loved how Davante Adams played in week 1. I didn't really care for what they did in week 2. I'm kind of perplexed with the offense right now. But I like Davante Adams over 99.5 receiving yards and 1 touchdown against Tennessee. That $10 will win me 32. So basically, he has to get 100 yards. Now he scored a touchdown in both games, so that doesn't concern me a lot. But with the fact that Renfro is going to be out, that may open up opportunities for Adams. Now it just depends on what the Titans are going to do against Waller, and it's going to depend on what they do against their other receivers. But Adams has shown in the past, and a perfect example is the Charger game. When the Raiders were behind, they were going to Adams almost every other play, and he had 141 yards and 10 catches. I thought he played a great game week 1. I thought in week 2 they got away from Adams, and the game got away from him in the end. They go to Renfro on the last drives, and we know what happened there. I think it's a bounce back game for Adams, and I think this offense for the Raiders, although I did pick Tennessee earlier in my parlay, this offense for the Raiders has a ton of question marks. They need to answer them this week because 0-3 is going to be a hell of a hole to dig out of for this team to make the playoffs.
Yeah, I agree with that. You know, Devontae Adams he's gonna get a long ball. It's just gonna happen. And so you look at it and go, he could get a 50, 60-yard catch. And usually when you're talking that long, you're talking that's probably a touchdown. So excuse me, sorry guys. I am so sorry. Holy cow. So you're getting over half of that on one catch and the touchdown. So yeah, I love this bet. I think this is a good bet. If I was getting daring or whatever, I mean, you did 10 to win 32. If I was getting daring and I didn't look it up, so I don't know what the odds are, I might add Waller to get a touchdown to this, just because I think they're going to have to go to him at some point as well. But yeah, I love that. I think this is money right here.
And here's the other thing too: Jacobs may not play this week. So if Jacobs doesn't play, then they're going to have to pass the ball. They're just going to have to do it. And so you got Adams, you got Waller. I mean, that's just who they're going to have to hit.
Yeah, it is. It's going to happen. I mean, I don't. Like you said, I know you bet against them, and I totally get it, and I'm not totally convinced that Vegas will win this game, but they're not going to get shut out. They're not going to get rolled. They're here's where this is good, because we both are not convinced that Vegas is going to win it, and that means they're going to be behind you. When you're behind, what do? You pass the damn ball. You don't run the ball. So I think this bodes really, really well for your bet, and I like that bet a lot.
Yeah, no disrespect to Mac Hollins. He's played pretty well the past 2 weeks, but I mean, they brought Adams in to put up big numbers. That's why they brought him in.
I agree.
Like, this was the whole thing why you signed Carr the extension, you trade for Adams. This offense is supposed to be dynamic. Well, week 1 it was good. Week 2 it sucked. You need to perform the next 15 weeks.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that wholeheartedly. So, all right, that concludes our week 3 edition of the BSB podcast. BS, I hope you have a great weekend. I hope all of you at home have a great weekend. I hope you enjoyed our show. And if you did, please make sure you like us, share us, subscribe, all that stuff, because we're on YouTube, we're on Spotify, we're on Google, we're on everywhere you can get for the most part. So make sure you get that word out, and just spread the word, because we like doing this, and man, it'd be hella cool to be doing this as a profession. So get that word out for us. Also, hit us up on those. We're on Twitter, we're on TikTok, we're on everything. So hit us up with questions, comments. What do you like? What else do you like this week? Because we've said it many times, we don't have enough time in one show to cover everything we do. And I'll throw stuff on TikTok, I'll throw stuff out on Twitter, Facebook. I'll just throw random bets that I'm doing or you're doing or whatever that we didn't cover in the show. But ask us, like, why are you doing that? Or what do you think? Or how do I do this? Or whatever. Ask us and we'll tell you. So please, community, we love talking sports. You guys don't understand. That's what we do. When we're not teaching, we're not spending time with our families, we're talking to each other about sports or other people or whatever. So please do that for us. We really appreciate you guys listening or watching or whatever you're doing. And as a reminder, this is purely entertainment, and we do not guarantee anything we predict, unfortunately. But I hope you guys take down Vegas this weekend. I hope you all have a great weekend. Brother, I love you so much. I love spending this time with you.
All right.
Have a good weekend.
All right. Goodbye, everybody.